Hello, you're watching ERi-TV English News Broadcast live from our headquarters in Asmara. I'm Han Barkhat. Let's first look at the top stories that are making headlines today. Senior Eritrean delegation on working visit to Russia. Workshop to boost contribution of partners in redressing environment. Mali accuses France of spying over video of mass grave. Israel launches deadly airstrike on ammunition depot targeted in Syria. Senior Eritrean delegation composed of Minister Osman Saleh, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and Presidential Advisor Mr. Yemane Gabrab is on a 2-day working visit to Russia on invitation of Mr. Sergei Lavrov, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation. At a meeting they held today, Foreign Minister Lavrov briefed the Eritrean delegation on the genesis of the conflict in Ukraine, the objectives of Russia, and the current situation. The Eritrean delegation on its part reiterated Eritrea's principled position, including in a press statement, and called on Russia and Ukraine to find bilateral solution to their conflict. The two sides also exchanged views on the current situation in the Horn of Africa, as well as the African continent at large. Furthermore, Eritrea and Russia agreed on concrete measures to upgrade political, diplomatic, trade, investment, as well as educational and cultural relations. The Forestry and Wildlife Authority organized a one-day workshop on 26 April in Asmara with a view to clarify objectives and boost contribution of the partners and stakeholders in redressing the environment. Speaking at the event, in which ministers, army commanders, regional governors, heads of governments, institutions and national associations, as well as religious leaders took part, Colonel Kenfe Haptom, General Manager of the authority, said that so far commendable efforts have been exerted in many areas of the country in planting trees, seedlings, and water and soil conservation activities with a view to redress and stabilize the environment. Pointing out the main objectives of administrations at all levels, defense forces, and security and media outlets, Minister of Energy and Mines, Colonel Kenfe called for integrated efforts to address the challenges being encountered, including illegal deforestation activities, and others that are negatively affecting the environment, indicating that global climate change and damage of natural environments are among the main global calamities. Mr. Tesfaye Gebreselassie, Minister of Land and Water and Environment, called for strong effort on the part of all stakeholders to conserve the existing forests and bring the environment to its normality. Mr. Arafine Berhem, Minister of Agriculture, on his part, explaining the expected contribution of the Ministries of Defense, Land, Water, and Environment, Agriculture, Forestry, and Wildlife Authority, as well as national associations, called for establishing a coordinating committee under auspices of the Forestry and Wildlife Authority. The participants conducted extensive discussion on the reports presented and adopted various recommendations. As a result of integrated and successful awareness-raising activities, malaria infection has declined by 17% in Mendefera subzone, according to Mr. Yosef Svahatu, environmental sanitation expert. And the subzone said that there are some areas in which malaria prevalence has been occurring repeatedly, and called on the public to use impregnated bed nets and sustainable environmental sanitation activities to control the prevalence of the disease, indicating that children, pregnant women, and the elderly are mainly exposed to disease. Mr. Yosef called on the public to conduct sustainable environmental sanitation activities, properly use impregnated bed nets, and visit health facilities on time for treatment, pointing out that the health facilities in Mendefera subzone are significantly contributing in treating malaria patients in the controlling the prevalence of the disease. Mr. Yosef called on the society to clear suspected malaria mosquito breeding areas before the coming of the rainfall season. We will be back with international news. Stay tuned. Mali on Tuesday accused the French army of spying and subversion when it used a drone to film what France alleged was mercenaries burying bodies near a military base. The drone illegally flew over the Gossi base on April 20, the day after forces handed the site back to Mali, the junta said in a statement. The following day, the French army shared a video it said showed Russian mercenaries covering bodies with sand to falsely accuse the departing troops of war crimes. 2 soldiers could be seen filming the half-buried corpses. Earlier on Tuesday, Mali's military announced an inquiry into the discovery of a mass grave at the Gossi base. France, Mali's former colonial power, is winding down its almost decade-long anti-jihadist military operation in the West African state. But in February, it decided to pull out its troops after falling out with the military junta. Israeli airstrikes near Damascus on Wednesday killed 9 combatants, among them 5 Syrian soldiers in the deadliest such raid since the start of 2022, a war monitor said. Government media in Syria confirmed 4 of the 5 casualties in the strikes, on which Israel did not comment. The latest strike follows another near Damascus on April 14 without casualties, according to SANA. The UK base, which relies on a vast network of sources in every region of Syria, said 8 people were also wounded in the strikes. The other 4 killed were not members of the Syrian military, but belonged to Iran-backed militia, Chief Rami Abdel Rahman said, adding he could not verify their nationality. He said at least 5 separate sites were targeted in the latest Israeli raid. Since the war broke out in Syria in 2011, Israel has carried out hundreds of airstrikes inside the country, targeting government positions as well as allied Iran-backed forces. Before we close for today's news, let's have a recap of the headlines tonight. Senior Eritrean delegation on working visit to Russia. Workshop to boost contribution of partners in redressing environment. Mali accuses France of spying over video of mass grave. Israel launched deadly airstrikes on ammunition depot targets in Syria. That was all for today's news. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.